Yo, what's going on YouTube, bro? We're back. And I got something good cooked up for you guys today. But before we get into that, well, I'm walking up this path. Kind of hype. Dang, I really need to start running again. Low-key, this is kicking my ass. It's not that steep, but I'd like to say thank you guys for 50 subscribers. So this is the 50 sub special. I'm gonna get this all out of the way. Love you guys. Yeah, I'm gonna get this all the way at the beginning, but I love you guys. Thanks so much for 50 subscribers. 50 subscriber Mr. Caleb that you guys been hearing about, he got a YouTube channel just to subscribe to me. I don't think he waited until this moment. I think he just got really lucky because he's like, oh my god, I'm your 50th subscriber. I'm like, thank you, brother, so much. Right, so yeah, 50 subscribers, very hyped. This is a 50 sub special. I'll meet you guys at the top and we'll get into it. Yo, we finally made it, bro. Look at this view. A little side note before we start. Dang, that's insane, right? But something I forgot to mention in the first clip, right, because they're gonna be separate clips and you're gonna notice it, is I'd recommend staying until the end because there's a little surprise at the end kind of thing, right? A little can't say too much without spoiling it, but a little surprise at the end, and I'm just gonna get this out of the way. At 100 subs, $100 gift card of your choosing giveaway. It's gonna be a random sub, you know, whoever, whatever. But so we're hyped for that, and we'll obviously do something at 1,000 subs too. But that's probably a long ways away. Hopefully not, but probably. So yeah, we're gonna get into the video. Yeah. So yo. All right, I'm just gonna start this. I think where we should start is, just as a kid, you know, growing up, my favorite thing ever was stories, whether it be a movie, you know, a book, a TV show, even a story-based video game, or, you know, when I got a little older, like something like Fortnite story, right? But so those are my favorite things ever growing up, right? So, you know, I always thought like maybe I could be a movie director, or, you know, an author, you know, write scripts for games, be like, you know, creative director or something. And, you know, I'm just like, really the big thing that like got me was, you know, English. And, you know, English is hard, you know, it's hard. All right, I know I speak it, it's not that hard to speak, but really the big thing is like I can never publish a book. Even if I had the greatest idea, I can't get English down, right? Call me an idiot, I kind of am, but whatever. So, you know, that's one thing. But going back to the stories, you know, my favorite thing, whether it be, like I said, a movie, TV show, a book, a game, anything, stories are the best thing. And I think for a lot of people that's true. But that also, you know, a story could also be you telling a story, you experiencing something and telling that to people, or like, you know, also that's a fun thing. Everybody has their own like real life story on top of fictional stories, right? And stories are just a good way to bond with people, you know, whatnot. But stories, right? I'm not alone on this, I guarantee it. I mean, that's why people become authors. People love reading books, you know, and people love stories. And I think, you know, just to break down why people love stories and, you know, whatever, I think the three main things about stories that people love about them are the characters, for one, right? Characters, you know, main character, or, you know, protagonist, antagonist, side characters, anything. I mean, people love side characters, even though they're not nearly important to the story. I mean, you know, whatever. Another thing is the plot. You know, obviously people love characters doing things, right? You know, doing this or doing that, like Avengers Endgame. You know, I love going back in time trying to save everybody, right? That's a good example. You know, shit like that, you know, whatever. And then the third thing I think is lessons learned from a story, right? And a lot of times there aren't necessarily big lessons learned from a story, but, you know, like even like, you know, kids books are like, don't do this, don't be too greedy, whatever, right? Or, you know, whatever, right? Honestly, yeah. So people love stories, right? And I think we'll just jump into each individual category, right? Just kind of, you know, to further prove what my dream is to make a story, right? So I think let's just start with characters, right? Characters, I mean, they're the heart of the story, right? They're the plot, you know, moves the story, but the heart of the story is the characters. If you have bad written characters or just bad characters in general, like, people aren't gonna like your story. You know, some of the best written characters I've seen are, you know, Invincible. Sorry, Mark Grayson, even Omni-Man. Almost all Invincible characters except Amber in the TV show. I'm not talking about the comics, by the way. Just kidding. Amber became fine in season 2, but I'm just talking strictly TV show right now. Is, you know, just how everything is. I mean, he's a teenager. His dad's the most famous superhero on the planet, right? Oh, spoilers, by the way. And, you know, you go around and he's like, oh, this is great, I can be just like my dad, right? I mean, he says that, right? I want to be just like you. He realizes it's not as good as he thinks. I mean, he gets near-death experiences many times, you know, fighting like Battle Beast. I think that's his name. I swear I've watched the show. I'm pretty sure that's his name. The, you know, the furry guy dies, right? He sees people die when the I forget what they're called. Not Flaxons, I don't think. Maybe they are. No, I don't know, but it's like the aliens invade, and it's like their whole thing is they age a lot faster in our world, so they keep going back, and he's seeing people die, and he's like, dude, this is crazy, right? And his dad's like, this is nothing, right? And then, you know, all the way through it, he's just like, you know, I can't do this, or I can, I'm ready, I'm not ready, you know, whatever. But then, you know, it all sums up where, you know, everything, his whole world shatters when he views his dad as this great person, somebody he wants to look up to, right? And then he just, your mother is a pet, and like all of that, and like that whole episode of them two fighting each other is just insane, right? It's just two tyrants going at each other. But, you know, obviously Mark's not gonna win. He's less experienced. He just got his powers recently, right? But he's fighting for what he loves. You know what I mean? He's fighting for what he loves, and truly, like, even though he loves his dad, he's heartbroken that all that, but he has to fight for everything else he loves and what he believes in and everything, right? And then, you know, the whole, well, 17 more years scene, insane scene, right? Super bloody, crazy, right? But really what prevailed in the end was not necessarily his strength, you know, whatever, it was his humanity. And, you know, that's a good character, right? That prevailed to his dad is like, what will you have in 500 years? I'll have you. And that just broke his dad, right? His Viltrumite son made his humanity go, and then he flew away, of course. We're just gonna get a little bit of that. And then Omni-Man's insane, right? I mean, you gotta think there's many times where he's supposed to be this big, strong Viltrumite that's gonna take over the planet, and that's what he ends up doing. But like I just said, you know, he hesitates a few times to do things, you know. He did struggle against the Guardians of the Globe. I know it's different in the comics, but, you know, whatever, right? And even like in the beginning when Mark's like, I got my powers, he's like, oh, like, shoot, now I really have to begin this, right? Because whatever, I mean, obviously all this is just kind of like theorization, but like, you know, it's pretty damn close to the truth, right? And he's like, damn, right, this kind of sucks. Like, I low-key don't really want to do this, but, you know, I have to, right? So then he presumes his mission, whatever, kills the Guardians, you know, whatever, right? So, which is insane. If you haven't seen that show, just go watch it. It is so good. It is such a good show, like peak television, right? Yeah, but like the characters, like the thing is, the animation isn't super good. The story's great, right? But the characters are really what like drive the story to be better. You know what I mean? The story's really well written, or like the plot, you know. But really the big thing is, it's like you like these characters, and you're like Nolan's supposed to be this really good guy, why is he doing this, right? But in the end, his humanity comes out and he flies away, right? Crying, by the way, right? So it's like, that's crazy. So I mean, you know, give a show like that and the characters are insane, right? The heart of the story and super good, right? And that's what makes that really good. I mean, everything about Invincible is pretty good, except obviously the animation ain't great, but like, you don't really need it to look good as long as you got a good story or good characters, right, in it. I'm just gonna use Invincible for the characters. I could use it for the story too, but we're just gonna use it for the characters, right? Because I have a better example for story, at least used to be, not so much anymore. So, I mean, I guess we'll just get into that. Look at that view. I hope it's not too dark. It's gonna be really awkward if I go to do this and I have to re-record it because it's too dark out. I can, well, the next thing we'll go into is story. And I know nobody wants to hear it. You know, nobody wants to hear it, but, ooh, that's kind of a nice shot right there. Hey, nobody wants to hear it. but the story section will be about Fortnite, because I loved the story before, and that's how you tell a story. Well, not all the way, but we'll get into that, right? I think up to about chapter 3 season 2 is how you tell a story, right? All right, we'll get into that. I'm gonna go back to my car and we'll get back into that. Yo. All right, so I realized the car didn't have enough light for this camera. At least that's what it looked like. So in my dirty ass room, hooray. But anyway, now let's get into Fortnite story, right? I'm gonna use different examples for everything, but we're gonna use Fortnite for this one. I'd say, you know, when Fortnite started, you know, first few seasons, nobody's like, this is gonna have story to it eventually, right? But story is like keeping, like, the characters at the heart of the story, or heart of like storytelling, or not. Okay, my fault. Not the story, the plot. That's this point, right? The plot and the whole plot of everything. Like, the characters weren't that great in Fortnite, right? Really, I mean, they were okay, right? The 7, really, but the 7, Jonesy, I mean, they were great characters, but like, really, the thing here is, did it just stop working? Boom. Okay, sorry. There might just be like a little black screen part. I don't know what happened there, but so the plot can just like keep the momentum in the story going. Obviously, makes sense, right? Also, it sounds like I'm yapping. All this will come together later, most of the time, right? And Fortnite's a really good example with its live events and it's just story in general, where like the story community, or like, you know, the story community, really, they come for the live events, what's happening to the island. The characters are just kind of a side bonus, right? But like the rocket blasting off, that was insane. That was a story. All that was just moving the plot forward, right? All it was the rocket going away, starting like the introduction to season 5. That's all it was. And then Kevin, I mean, I guess that's a character, but it's a wow factor. Like, oh my gosh, look at this cube going around. He's not really a character. He doesn't have personality. Doesn't go through any arcs or anything, right? He just becomes more powerful, explodes, sends us to that. And the Ice King, I get, okay, that's characters. But, like the volcano event, right? Wow factor. It's moving the story forward, you know, whatever. It breaks open the vault, revealing the 0 point. Or no, it just broke in the vault, didn't it? And then that's when moving the story forward to go to season 9, where the Beck versus Monster revealing the 0 point, and the 0 point is basically the whole premise of season 10, right? And then the black hole goes to bring us to chapter 2, season 1, and go all the way. The island flipping brings us to chapter 3, and then basically chapter 3, season 2 is kind of just the end of the story, right? But all of it is wow factors, moving this, you know, moving the story forward. Just all the plot is just wow factors, moving the story forward, right? But like a lot of them till the end didn't really have very many characters. It was kind of just, this happened, or this character did this thing that caused this to happen, so next season happened, right? And I'm sorry, the magic of Fortnite was its live events, right? It's still great now. Gameplay is definitely the second biggest thing, but I think the first biggest thing that got it big was the fact that every season we could look forward to a live event at the end of the season, or even in like chapter 4, and you know, at chapter ending event, whatever, right? But like, it's because it's like, oh, these things are happening for a reason. Like, there's a lore behind it, right? There's a story behind it. Once again, I mean, obviously some people didn't care. Not everybody's gonna care, right? Especially since it's a game. But like a battle royale game like that was never expected to have a story. And really, that's what kept pushing it. I think that's one of the big reasons it got big. Obviously, the building mechanic, everybody's like, the building mechanic, that's what it got big at the first place. But it peaked in like 4, 5, and 6, right? And that's when the start of the story happened. And then it fell off. But then they didn't really fall off that hard. Obviously, it's like using Ninja for an example, whatever, right? But, you know, the story is really what drove people to Fortnite. Was like, this is great. We need to keep coming back, right? Because a lot of people even came back just to watch the events. Like a lot of my friends did that, and it was just kind of to see like the wow factor. This is cool, right? I mean, you're doing it with a bunch of people, right? So I mean, plot doesn't have a lot to it. It just kind of moves the story forward, and it just basically is the wheels for the story. You know what I mean? Or the legs of the story, right? The, you know, whatever, the characters are the heart, and then the plot is the legs, right? And then we'll get into the last part just right now. that was kind of a shorter segment, but the last part is um the lessons learned. And I'd say this is like the rest of the body, like the face, everything, because a lot of the times like a lot of like kid stories, okay, actually I'm not going to use any like fictional stories. I'll use like a lot of the stories like I would tell about like to my friends, like, oh, what did I learn from this or that? And I'm telling real life stories, like telling my friends, this or that. It's all the lessons I learned. That's the only reason I tell them a lot of the time. I mean, there's funny stories, right? But even those funny stories usually have like, oh, I failed to yield kind of thing. Yeah, maybe I should always, check the yield time. Even though it's a little lesson, it just makes you who you are as a person. All these failings. Okay, my dad's coming. 1 second. The lessons learned is kind of just the body, like the like your eyes and your sight. I'm more like, right, like your head, like why the story's being told a lot of times, other than like the wow factor, the characters telling a character story, but the lessons. And this isn't just the moral of the story or like whatever. It's also like what the lessons the characters learned, right? How the characters evolved was kind of just intertwined. All of them intertwine a little bit, but there's lessons the characters learn and the lessons the readers learn, because sometimes like a lot of like I said, real life stories, right, is like, oh, like a good example is like when I was just, okay, I'm kind of just backtracking a little bit, but a good example is like when I tell the story about my ex, right, not Hinge Girl, no thanks. When I tell the story about Hinge Girl, my lesson is kind of just be more cautious, you know what I mean? Or when I tell the story about my fault, not Hinge Girl, my story is just kind of like, don't be dumb. But like, obviously that's a generalization, obviously not don't be dumb, but it's just like, hey, maybe watch what you say, maybe think about it, think how the other person feels after what you say, not like entirely, but that's just one of the lessons I learned from that, right? And it's all kind of just accumulates together, like, oh yeah, I shouldn't have done this, I shouldn't have done that. It's all just lessons I learned, and that's literally like how I tell the story. I tell the story, the person I'm telling is usually interested, right, to see how all of it happened, how all of it started, how it went, and then how it ended, right? But really, the only reason I'm telling the story is because most of the time it's like, oh, this is what I learned from it, this is, whatever. This is what I learned from it, and this is what you can take from it if you want. If not, that's cool too. But this is what I learned from it, and this is how I'm gonna do stuff better moving forward. What I'm gonna look for and whatnot. You gotta grow up in a sense, right? Or like sometimes you're just not ready, and you gotta be ready. You know what I mean? Or just even if you're not ready, sometimes you just gotta go for it, right? And that's why the leap of faith scene is so good, right? Is because he just went for it, and that's him growing, learning a lesson, right? From just everything. He jumped off the building. And then that's, the whole upside down city is him, it's symbolizing him rising rather than falling, even though, he's obviously falling if you were to put it normal. But that's the whole reason that the city's up, is because it's him rising, right? Him rising into the city instead of, falling, which is just insane to think about. Like, they put that much detail in it. Like, a normal person wouldn't even, like, realize something like that. But, stories are, authors, script writers, all everything are great. Right, but then that's basically all of just lessons. It's just the eyes of the story, right? But then you're like, okay, Gabe, you kind of just yapped for a little bit. You said there's a surprise at the end. What is it, right? Well, and then it kind of all like I learned like watch Spider-Man and the Spider-Verse when I was like in 2018, right, or 2019, whenever it came on Netflix. Watched that. Watched Invincible when it came out, like as it was coming out the first season, right? All my relationships or any past experience I've had, throughout my life, telling stories, and, like playing Fortnite. I basically grew up with Fortnite, like actually grew up, because there's like growing up where you're conscious, right, till like you're 10, but there's like growing up as a person, and Fortnite was there for all of that. You can call it cringe, call it whatever you want, but it's true, right? And that's, all of those together made me love just storytelling and stories. So, now, once again, you're like, Gabe, you're still yapping. Like, why? Right? And that's because, now that I'm doing YouTube, honestly, like I've said before, this is kind of my dream job. This is what I want to be doing. But I also want to do it not because it's like, oh, it pays really well. Even if it paid, like not even that much, but like a livable wage, I would still do it. right? But I just like making story. I mean, that's all I've done is stories or lessons or whatever, right? And my dream is making a story and becoming a YouTuber, right? Those are my two big things. That ever since I was a kid, I was like, I think I could tell a good story, and I think I could make a pretty good YouTuber. And you guys are helping me support that with 50 subs, you know what I mean? So I'm starting this next big project, and I think it's gonna be a hype project, you know. And another thing I liked about the Fortnite story is like you're kind of in it, but not really. Like you're kind of interacting with it, but not really because it's a game, right? Right. So I'm starting this next big project, right? Where I'm gonna make a story. I'm gonna make a story, and I'm gonna have you guys make some decisions. Obviously, decisions will actually affect it. I'm gonna point that out, right? Decisions will actually affect all this stuff, right? Like you guys will make big decisions to do this or do that, right? And then, yeah, so you guys will make big decisions in there, and you know, I'm just probably once every 2 weeks because obviously I gotta write the story, whatever, right? But this is my big project. I don't even know what I'm gonna call it yet, right? Don't even know what I'm gonna call it, but I'm just gonna slowly keep making a story, just pushing it out. You guys make decisions. I change based on the decisions you make. It's kind of like a Telltale game, right? Except hopefully not as bad at writing, right? Obviously, I've never made a story before, other than I've DM'd a campaign, right? But yeah, so I'm gonna start making a story, and you know, first question I have for you guys, first choice, right, is who are we? In soul or mind?